Good morning, and thanks for coming. Let's set the context. Yes, sorry, not a robot, more about software. And it was all about the finding of new indicators of compromise. And in this context, IoCs, such indicators, it's a signs of infection, like a file hashes, like a malicious domains, IP addresses, etc. But first things first, who we are, who I am, why we are speaking on this matter. We are very classical managed security service provider, which means we have several hundreds of guys who is protecting several dozens of clients. And to us, so blue teamers, all the way, all kind of security operations center, all advanced threat hunting, threat intelligence above it. And our automation is really crucial for us. Otherwise, we couldn't make clients happy and protect them properly. My part of the job is threat hunting, threat intelligence in the team. And also, lately, maybe worth to mention, our moving towards all this agentic stuff, like every one of us today, I suppose. But let's keep it for later and start with IoCs. So, what's the problem we are trying to solve here? We all knew the proper feeds of indicators from established vendors, but it's a very useful baseline. So you could check along your feeds from everywhere, check your telemetry, your infrastructure. But to me, it looks like a very useful, very needed, but only a baseline. Because you would barely find something new. You just, if your host-based protection failed in finding a malware, or if it was some kind of low beans attack, you could just detect it later using feeds. Because I would consider all these published and open-sourced IoCs as burnt ones. So most probably attackers would never use it again. But once again, useful baseline. But could we do better? I suppose we could. So above this baseline, we could move, in my opinion, we could move two ways. First, it's based some statistical and behavior detection above it. I mean, for example, your user all the time walk through leads, and somehow now it's from the Mexico City. Maybe it's some anomaly. Or your user works with your monorepository in a peak, the request per second to your monorepository was, I don't know, like 10 objects, and somehow 1,000 objects appear. Once again, statistical anomaly. It's a one way of providing more detection. But today, let's consider second way. Let's add new IoCs previously unknown for the vendors, for you, how we could obtain it. To me, it's a task for last 15 years in different companies. It's the first time I'm solving it. It's a very typical task, to my opinion. And to me, let's formulate the technical points before solution. And to me, technical points, it have to be not too loud. If all of your engineers would have around 200 alerts a day, no one would look into it. So everyone would take a look at the first 12 and skip all the other. So try to make it our first technical point. Let's try to make it not too loud. Second one, it not have to be like engineer in a good mood. Let's run it on a Monday morning. Nothing like this. Let's build the process, automated some robots and some regular automation for it. It's, to me, two main points. And let's make you an example of how there are different ways to get new IoCs. One of them is here. Imagine you use your CTI, your threat intelligence from the vendor as a baseline, and you got some malicious domain. But who could stop you from taking a look? In this attack, they are using HTTPS, so I know very custom and very malicious SSL certificate, and I could go further with it. I could open FOFA, Shodan, whatever, whenever you have ability to check for same certificate on another service and get another control service, get another related to the same attack. So new domain name, SSL cert, migrating pivoting to the new domain name. And after new domain, it's not a problem, I suppose, to get some, you could use your VirusTotal or your custom data source to get some files connected to these domains. You see, so we are merging, we are correlating on our side to different telemetries, so moving between network one and host-based one to get new samples and get the IoCs previously completely unknown. You couldn't get it from the feeds, but you could, if you can, have a spare hands in your team. Just one engineer could bring you several IoCs. And it have to be looped to bring over every morning or whatever, every night, any new IoCs. I propose to solve this task. I propose to make it pluggable. Why? Because you never know your future new inputs and your future new outputs as well. For example, tomorrow, some team for France would make a new service of your dream. So service just have everything you want from this world and you want to plug it in. Let's try to build an architecture, keeping in mind some future plugging of a new data, new blocks. So repeatable, easily pluggable, and I propose if you would build something like this, I propose you to, in the very beginning, stick to the strict scheme. In my case, I choose JSON as the initial config, and the modern JSON allows me just to keep a strict JSON scheme, and my config have to be strictly in line with it. It would be, and I think building such a product, it's worth to invest some time to think about scheme. It's quite painful to move to the different one. I have in different project, I had an experience moving from a custom JSON to the industry standard sticks 2.1, and it takes time to migrate between them. Invest some time on a planning stage to plan your scheme properly. It's just my JSON, but actually you're free, YAML, whatever, you are free to choose. Just my case, some required environment variables like tokens, URLs, whatever, and the crucial one is a type. Type you would see in our orchestrator, type of the input data source, and some output. So just this as output, whatever you want to migrate to ClickHouse, easily. So new tokens or new URLs, you are done. And as well, with the inputs. And also, let's imagine real data flow in this case. The config I just showed, it's for the data flow from the VirusTotal stream. So some Yarrow rule brings new samples from VirusTotal and connected in the wild domains goes to dist. And I get all these new brand malicious domains. The result, in that case, I'm wondering for the domains of a muddy water actor. In 3 days, I got 5 new domains and shared with our hunting guys, sharing with the customers, fellow vendors, etc. So seems like it works. It's quite easy and work. And tricky one is here. So you could easily cover inputs and outputs, but I suppose this one, enrichment, it's gives me the most headache. Enrichment differs all the times. Here it's new domains from hashes, but if you are just with the previous scheme as self-certificate and FOFA, you have to write enrichment in a bit different way and mention it in a config. Orchestration, it's just a main module who would parse all this configuration data, and take a look, source type. All I have, sorry, Mike is only here, all I have to do, it just gives the same name, and orchestrator would instantiate Python class for parsing with data source, and voila, I get my dist with all the new domains. Architecturally, it's some endpoints which return me JSON with the new entities of interest, But just in case, if you are fan of visualization or ordering, it's quite easy to build a simple web interface above this API, JSON-based API. And it's the same sample for the muddy water, and you could see the data sources. You all know VirusTotal. OpenCTI is our internal data. Maybe you are not aware of this data source, but it's also plugged in config, just a small but very unique source of the indicators. That's it. So some takeaways. Let's resume what I'm proposing. I'm proposing to you to move a border between a vendor or client, if you are a service provider, as we are, just moving a bit towards you, invest several engineers into actually do some job, typically doing on the vendor's side, and you would be more flexible, and you could just not ask the vendor support to open some PRs, please implement this and this. You could just easily do it on your side, changing the configuration, orchestrator, or your web interface above API. This is the idea. So once again, let's try to make it not too loudy. Please mind your engineer is not endless for one day. So I would recommend maybe every morning around 12 new IoCs for one guy to check and make it regular. That's it. I suppose I'm almost out of time. Hope to have some time for the questions. And please, if someone have similar project or interested into hunting, feel free to find me here, also in party, after party, or some LinkedIn or the Facebook, if someone is still there. So I'm open to discuss. I'm also interested in to exchange the experience. Thank you so much. And have a good conference.